welcome to this video on the Gimp 2.4. Now in this video we're going to be touching base on the layers, and this is our layers dialog box here. Now if you don't have yours set up similar to the way I've got mine here, then you can get to your layers dialog box by several ways, but one, you can go over here to File, because this is always going to be up here. Go over here to File, and where are we at? Dialogs, there we are, and there you go. Now what you more than likely would do is you could just like what I did over on the right hand side of the screen there, you can just go up here to create new doc, and then this one here, and that's what I did. Well, kinda, this is one that I did before, but I would just bring this up here in place of that one, and then you've got the layers here, and you got the undo, you got the paths tool, and you got the channels dialog here. Actually, that was pretty cool. I might just leave that one up there. But anywho, that's how you can get to the dialogs box. And let me see here. Now this one here, just to kind of go over a little bit of what all is involved with the dialog box and all the little cool things. Actually, I better move this down so I'm not confusing the issue too much. And get that up here. This right about there. Cool. Okay. Now here we've got the icon we click on this to create a new layer, and these we can use these up and down arrows to move the selected layer up and down, and I'll show you here in a second to kind of emphasize the importance of these. And here we can simply duplicate a particular layer that we've got selected. And if we've got a floating layer around here somewhere, and I'll show you, we've covered that in prior videos, but if you've got a floating layer around here and you kind of like what you've got and you want to make it part of your image, and you click on the anchor, and boom, that floating is no longer floating, it is actually attached to the layer in question. And then of course we got the dumpster here, the trash can, where you can either drag this to the trash can or just highlight it and then click on the trash can, and it's in the trash, it's gone. Now we've got some other items up top here that are also pretty nifty. The opacity, oh, this is pretty cool. You can add some special effects real easy to an existing image that you've got. And like some of the other tools we've got over here, we have a mode selection where you click on the drop down arrow. You've got a lot more options you can play with here to affect the said layer or image. And well, let me just kind of show you here. Like for example, right here I've got this CD selection selected, and that's this guy right here, and you can see all the eyeballs are off here. That means that these layers are not showing. They're there, they're just not showing. So if I were to save this right now, then it would save it without these layers involved in this image. In other words, you get what you see. I mean, if I were to click on save as, then this is what the image, the end result would be. Only one CD. Now in this one right here, one of the beauties behind layers, and let me just kind of mention that too. One of the benefits behind, say, the Gimp or Photoshop is the ability to work in layers, and something you just don't get with any other type of image manipulation software. For example, you've got this layer of the CD is on top of the layer of this box, the software box. So as you can see, it's on top of, it's in front of, if you will, and you can move it around all over the place. Now that's one of the things about these up and down arrows, is that you can adjust this. For example, let me create a new layer and click on the new layer icon, and over here it's always good to name these too. That way you can stay somewhat organized, and it gives you the width and the height, and you can choose from the foreground color, which if you see right now is dark blue, background color, which is white, or you can have these either or, white or transparency, depending upon what you're about to create. But for the sake of this example, I'm going to leave it at foreground color, so it creates a dark blue layer, and it's basically going to be the same size as this, so it's going to set on top of this. Again, one of the beauties behind layers. Go ahead and create, and boom. Now then, everything below this is affected by this. Look at this as a uh, a blue blanket on top of all of these guys here. It's covering them all up. Now, one of the cool things about this is you can affect the opacity or the transparency of these individual layers. So for example, I'm going to decrease this opacity so you can kind of see through this blanket like so. So you can see how it affects everything below it with a darker blue hue or tint. Now, and with this layer selected, the dark blue layer selected and kind of transparent, let's move it down. Okay, so now then this layer here is on top of the blanket, is on top of that blue blanket, so it's shining through. So let's keep on moving it down. Dun, 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 dun. You can kind of see things are starting to come to light here a little bit. Now then this box is on top of the blue blanket, so you can basically see that it's affecting the background now. And now in the background, the white background, it's on top of the blue. So basically the blue is not having any effect whatsoever. So again, that's one of the cool things about layers, is that you can just kind of pile stuff on top of one another. Let me trash this guy here. You can pile stuff on top of one another, give it more of a depth to your image. A lot of cool things you just cannot do with simple image software. So I'm not really sure how else to put it, but that's, oh, and one other thing too, if you didn't notice, of course this is the Gimp, and this is a Photoshop extension, a PSD extension. So without having to fork over 3 or 4 or 5 or 600 bucks for a Photoshop software, you're able to manipulate and work with Photoshop images. So again, just wanted to point that out to you too. Now, one other thing too I wanted to mention here is that, let's say we've got this one CD selected. As you can see, it's kind of a beige. Either way, whether it's dark blue or beige, it means it's selected. This layer is selected. Let's multiply this up a couple of times here. 2, 3, and they're all just kind of hidden right behind here. Select this guy over here, and this guy over here. So that's just pretty cool stuff, if you ask me. And then, of course, if you didn't want them to be shown, maybe you're wanting to save one image with just the box, and you take the eyeballs out. Where's that other eyeball at here? And now then you can save this as whatever, give it a name, and then you're only going to get this software box. Now then, if you want those if you want those CD images back in there, or DVD images, then you just turn the eyeballs back on, and there you have it. Now then you can save it as, and you've got this as your image. So that's kind of a quick overview of some of the things you can do with the layers aspect of your Gimp software. Hope you learned something, and hope you'll be able to profit immensely from this little tool. Thank you much for watching, folks.